Greetings, family. Anistara Ma Ka here with Messages from Egypt Part 3. Wow. It has been such a beautiful experience creating these presentations with Brielle Bataille. Thank you so much, Brielle. I really appreciate you. So family, those who are feeling the call to go to Egypt, I have so much more that I want to share with you before creating our offer to you to come on pilgrimage and a joint research expedition with us next year. We will be in Egypt October 26th through November 14th, 2022, so that we can be present together for 1111 Unify. So on November 11, 2022, we will be at the Temple Isis in Philae. We have private access to the island where we will be at the 1111 portal and gateway, which I'm really excited to share more with you about for next week in part 4. So let's just drop in for a moment. This is the 1111 tuning fork. This is the angelic tone. And it's known for awakening and spiritual enlightenment. And it's just a beautiful tone. And so this is the tone that we use at the beginning and the end videos of our presentations and our calls and our live streams. So for those of you that didn't know that, the 1111 tuning fork. So just dropping in for a moment, being in this present here and now. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. And let's dive into it. So, Messages from Egypt, Part 3. Yes, so much information. Honestly, the more that I sit with these photos and videos, the more that comes through. And so we're going to dive right into it here. And of course, we want to start with our little message that I am not a chematologist or an Egyptologist or a hieroglyph specialist or any of these things. I am simply a person that went to Egypt and experienced it through my own perception, my own lens, my own ability to tap in intuitively to the energy in spaces and places. As well as reading through the lens of 1111. A lot of 11s show up for me when I'm in sacred space. And so to come to these temples and really, really witness it in a big way shows me that I'm on the right path, because 1111 has always been a way for me to follow signs and synchronicities. And so this is simply my perspectives and opinions. And I hope that everyone honors them and respects them. And I just, pray that it reaches some of you because it truly is coming from my heart and my inner knowing and my spiritual eye and all the things that we get to explore together when we are in Egypt. So we traveled. The first part was in Cairo, Giza area, and then we moved on and we went to Abydos and Dendera, and now we have landed in Luxor, and we stayed at the beautiful old Winter Palace. Now, this was one of the most lush gardens that I'd seen in all of Egypt, in all of our explorations. The garden at this hotel was absolutely gorgeous. And that's my dog barking in the background. Thank you, Kier, for telling me. And so this Winter Palace was just a beautiful place to visit and be at. And the gardens were so lush and gorgeous. So I wanted to share them with you in this moment here and now. So our first visit was to Hatshepsut's temple. This is a funerary temple complex. Here you're approaching the temple on a tram, and then you get to the base of the stairs and you move up the stairs as we ascend the stairs to the temple. Now, this temple was built, as you can see, on the outside of this huge cliff. And literally, there are tombs everywhere surrounding it. When we took a hot air balloon ride, which I'll share some video from later, over this area of the west bank of the Nile, there was just so many tombs. You can see the holes in the ground. You can see where they're excavating and finding more and more. And the Valley of the Kings is just on the other side of this complex. And we were told that the tomb of Hatshepsut, that it tunneled, and then it shared a wall with the king's tomb on the other side of this cliff, leading into the Valley of the Kings. And so again, we're moving into this funerary temple. So there's a lot of energy around it. There's a lot of death. Well, we're on the west bank of the Nile. And so I'll go further into that as we dive into the glyphs and the symbols here. And so these statues outside the temple were massive. I mean, you could just see how huge and bulky and heavy they were. And when I first stepped up to them, the first thing that I noticed was the arms crossed. And this is, in a lot of ways, a symbol. When somebody dies, they'll cross the arms and they'll close the eyes. And so you really step up and you really get this feeling of like the end of life or the beginning of something new, however you want to see it. And so there's a lot of symbology around infinity and the afterlife and how to travel to it in this temple. So here we're in the inner courtyard of the temple, and it was a very, very open temple. There wasn't a roof on most of it until you went into some of these doorways, and you can see these little alcoves. And so we're going to explore one of these alcoves in a video here. So many stars in the sky.
It's amazing.
And please excuse some of the raw sound in these videos, but they are simply my experience when I was there and who I was with speaking and the tour guides, etc. But you noticed inside the temple the blue sky with the red stars on it, and it's just so gorgeous. There was so much color at this particular temple complex. A lot of it hadn't faded away with time or erosion. And so it was very, it was colorful. We'll go into more color later. But it was very impressive to me to see the vibrancy of the colors coming through, especially this ceiling with the blue sky, with the red stars. And it was almost like a darker blue. In the past, some of the other temple spaces or the text pyramids at Saqqara, it was a blue sky, but with white stars. And so I'm curious if this really symbolizes more like the night sky of the afterlife. right? It's a different perspective. So you're not going to have the white stars. Maybe you're on the other side of the veil where you experience them in a different color. And so here, outside the temple, towards the base of the stairs, is this beautiful bird. And inside its talons is what's called a shin ring. So some people spell it S-H-I-N, some people spell it S-H-E-N. But the shin ring symbolizes infinity. Usually it's a circle with a line at the base of it. And not only does it symbolize infinity, because it looks like a rope. It looks like a rope that has been tied off. And that means that there's a knot, that we're all interconnected and that we are infinite. And so some people have experienced the Shin ring as a symbol of portals or entering another dimension, going through the ring. And so this was popularized by a movie called Doctor Strange, where they're creating this circle and this portal where they open it and they can go through it into another place, time and space. And so the Shin ring has jumped out at me a lot when I'm at these sacred sites, because of course it's something I'm very interested in. So this is one of the pillars that was outside the temple. And I want you to notice here the 11s that just jump right out. They're of relief where they are pulled forward and the background is pushed backwards. And so standing in front of this, I really just saw these 11 pillars and the capstone essentially at the top to create doorways. So I stood in front of this for probably a good 10 minutes, just breathing it in, just squinting my eyes and looking at it, looking at the depth and the dimension of the dark color of the 11s and how the background kind of fades into a lighter color. And when you're standing in front of it, you can notice it more. But this particular pillar caught my attention first and foremost, and I spent a bit of time standing in front of it. And I wrote a little something in my journal at that time. So I'll share a little bit more of that later. All right. So that 1111 pillar was in an area that was outside of the main complex. And to the left of it, as you're standing there looking at the temple, was Hathor's sanctuary. Hathor's sanctuary, again, had no roofing. It was an open space, but it had these pillars with Hathor. And on the wall, you can see here that there is a cow. So Hathor is known as half woman, half cow. And she symbolizes mother because of the udders, the milk that she offers to the world. And so to the right here, you can see a pillar of Hathor and her cow ears, right? And for me too, that really symbolizes like you have to listen. You have to be aware of the frequencies or the tones, right? Sound healing. And so when I'm with Hathor, I call on Hathor. I really ask from a perspective of, mother who's listening, can you, let's convene together here in this moment and call something in together. And so I'm learning more about Hathor and what she has to offer. And she's very special and dear to my heart. So Hathor's sanctuary. We're going to go back here to for a moment to the vibrant colors. And here, this is below the main section that we were just in that had the blue sky with the red stars. Here we have the blue sky with the yellow stars. Again, they're not white, but there's that contrast. And you can see when you kind of squint your eyes and you look at them, that it's creating that flower of life pattern. Just remembering the infinity, the expansiveness of space and the universe and the stars and where we come from. And so you can see even further down just the vibrancy of the serpents with the red disc above their head, right? And then down below, the serpents coming off of the disc on its sides and the wings as well. And then to the right, you can see a vulture with the blue and the red wings. And so again, the vibrant colors, it just leads me to wonder how vibrant all of these places were before decay and you know, things just dissolving or dissipating or starting to be removed by time, whether it's through sand or whatever that removes color over time. But the vibrancy of this place really touched my heart. It was something that I really didn't witness in many other places in Egypt. So this temple was very special in that way. So one of the things that's been coming to my attention recently is Lyra, the constellation Lyra or how can I say? A friend of mine started coming to the house and helping us with cadence. And she said that she had woken up several times in the last week with the word Lyra or Lyra on her lips. And she didn't know what it was. And so we Google searched it. She Google searched it first and really started looking up what it meant or why it was coming through. And it's a constellation. I can't remember exactly where. And but it's known that the people from there are known as the original star seeds. And so those who have been connected or feel a resonance or connection to the Pleiades or Andromeda or Atlantis or Lemuria, that the Lyrans or the Lyrans are the original star seeds of those civilizations. And so they're symbolized by the lion. And so a lot of lion energy has been coming through recently. And of course, when we're making the presentation, I remember this glyph and being in front of this majestic lion. And he's there and he's got the really bright red and blue in his mane. And you can see the texture of the hair in his mane. And then the photo to the right, you can see that I'm sitting underneath a symbol in the center, and then the two lions facing outwards again. And so this reminds me of the glyph that was on the dream stela at the heart, between the paws of the Sphinx, at the heart of the Sphinx. And the symbols there were two lions facing away, facing out, guarding something sacred, guarding something very special. And so as I sat below this, I actually called that energy in. And really, now that the Lyran or Lyrans are present in my awareness, I'm starting to work with them and call upon them and just tap into that ancestral wisdom of the Lyrans or the Lyrans.
So it is 4:45 in the morning, and we are on our way to the boat to take us across the Nile to a car to take us to the hot air balloon ride at sunrise. Yay!
So we had this full day at Hatshepsut's temple, and then I decided to not go to the Valley of the Kings and be a part of exploring the tomb spaces. I had to take some time to integrate and really just drop in and spend some time in the water, at the pool, at the hotel. And because I knew we were going to be getting up so early to get on the boat for this hot air balloon ride. And so we're going to go on to this next video, and it is a little loud. So if you want to turn it down for a moment, this is okay. Money shot. Money shot. You're welcome, Jesse. I love you.
During the Roman persecution, they came here and they built big monastery, like church. Almost damaged, but there are some ruins still, some walls still until now, but all from mud brick. This is during the Roman persecution.
And so we're flying over the West Bank here. And there's Hatshepsut's funerary complex. Right?
Yeah.
Gondola.
That one, yeah. Not that one, but yeah. I want to go that one.
This temple behind us in the middle, this Ramesses temple. Ramesses II, Ramesses temple, yes. Don't worry, guys, we will go high.
Okay.
Don't worry, guys, we'll go high. And he did. Wow, this particular captain of the hot air balloon was incredible. The way he lifted us up and actually turned the entire balloon, really showing us a panoramic view. I really got a lot of beautiful video. I will be making a short film here at some point soon to share more of the view with you. One of the things that was most impactful was the juxtaposition of the desert with the Nile Delta, which is the green area that surrounds the Nile, the area when you have water and you're using it to irrigate the areas where people live, as well as the farms. So we have a photo here that really shows you the green and the lushness around the River Nile and what they call the Delta, and then the Sahara Desert to the right. And so looking at this, I'm just reminded again of the yin and the yang, and how much we require water to live. That it's truly, we are made of water. We need water. We have to have it to survive and to thrive. And so one of the things that really came forward for me during this trip was discovering how to bring more fresh drinking water to the families that live in this area. You cannot drink any water that's out of the tap. Pretty much you have to drink the water, the bottled water, the whole time. It crushed my heart. It hurt me every time I opened one of the small single-use bottles. That's what we were given at the hotels, at the restaurants, throughout the whole tour. And it sparked something in me, because I don't use reusable water bottles when I'm at home. I have my vessel that I refill all the time. And so it really sparked something in me. And I've spoken with Rabi, our tour guide, and during our tour next year, we are going to be using the 5-gallon jugs, and we have a pump. And so people will be able to refill their own reusable water bottles. And that's the first thing that we can do, is just start with us, start with how we're going to navigate the trip and how we will reduce our waste that we leave behind by using the recyclable, reusable water jugs, the larger jugs, to refill our own bottles. So I'm excited about that, but I want to go one step further and really maybe bring in and draw in Charity Water. It's an organization that I'm learning more about, but it really is about bringing clean drinking water to different areas of the world. And so Charity Water, if you're hearing this or seeing this, or if any of you are connected to them in any way, shape, or form, please let me know, because I'd really like to bring them or have somebody on their team with us for our joint expedition next year. So I'm calling that in right now in this moment. So we're in this city of Luxor, and it is big and it is loud. And there were moments that I felt like I was in Egyptian New York. And we had the opportunity to visit the Luxor temple in the evening, which was just stunning with the lights and the way that the shadows and the reflections, and it gave me a whole new perspective on what this temple space would have looked like during the day. And so I was super grateful to enjoy this space at night. When we're on our pilgrimage, we will be going to Luxor Temple in the evening. There's something about it that's just so stunning. So one of the things I wanted to share with you here is this beautiful obelisk. And I took a photo of it on the right with the moon above it. And one of the things that Robbie mentioned to us, and I don't remember the exact number, but it was very small. It was like 4 or 5 obelisks still exist in Egypt right now that they were taken, that they were literally stolen and brought to other places. And so it was interesting because when we were later in Turkey, on our way home from Egypt, we stopped in Turkey for a week, Cynthia and I. And when we were in Turkey and we were at the Blue Mosque, just outside the Blue Mosque was an Egyptian obelisk. Like, why are you here? You should be in Egypt. And so I'm like, it's so interesting how just pieces of people's history gets taken from them. And it really, it brought a heaviness to my heart for some time. So calling that in, harnessing in the history and the wisdom and the knowledge that each country has to offer, that it, even if it is spread out around the world, that can be called into cohesion again. So coherence is important to creating our new Earth vision, our future Earth together, where we can all thrive. So the codes of Luxor, they were magical. So let's dive into them a little bit. So here we have the Avenue of the Sphinxes. This too was absolutely gorgeous, lit at night. And so the Avenue of the Sphinxes starts at the Luxor Temple and it goes all the way to the KARNAK Temple. And I don't remember the exact distance, but it's pretty long, several kilometers long. And what's interesting is that on one side of the avenue, the Sphinx's heads are lions. And then on the other side, when you get to KARNAK Temple, they are rams with ram's horns. So at some point in the avenue, they start to morph and change. And you'll notice as you drive through the city that there are parts of the avenue where there's barely anything left of the statues. People taking pieces of them throughout the years and stuff. But the Avenue of the Sphinxes, we were not able to walk through it or like down the avenue. I'm not sure why, but I really, really enjoyed viewing it. And as you can see, it's just stunning to see something so long and like go through the city to get to the other temple. I can picture the ancients walking down this avenue to get from one temple to another. So here we are moving into the Luxor temple. There was several instances of masculine and feminine here. And so this is Amon and Amon on the left, yes, and Mute on the right. And I consider this a shared throne. They're sitting side by side in equality. And so this is something that is important. This is a code within all of us that we all desire. We all desire to be equal, no matter our gender, our race, our religion, our sexual identity, our culture, that we are all human beings going through this experience of being human together, and that we're equal. So I love this shared throne. This was one of my favorite parts of being in Luxor at night, was how the pillars created a pattern on the ground. And so it was this big checkerboard of sorts, but they weren't squares, they were diamonds. And so it was really playing with shadow and light and the yin and the yang. And again, the balance of the masculine and the feminine and the light and the dark. It was really, really powerful and beautiful. And one of the things that I liked doing was walking down the path of the light and just like navigate through the space using the light to guide me. So that was a very special moment for me. So as you get to the back part of the Luxor temple, the inner sanctum, and when I was told that when they build a temple, they usually start at the center. They start at the inner sanctum, or the most holy of holy places, where the high priests could go and visit, where the general public could not access. And then they would build out from there. So what was interesting was, as you entered what was considered the throat chakra of this temple was built according to the chakras. And when we dive into our 1111 mystic initiation, we'll go even further into the mapping of the chakras in this temple. But as you enter the throat chakra, which is this inner chamber that had a ceiling and it was enclosed, so it created this sound and this resonance when you go in and you sing or your tone in that area. And just outside the entrance that was literally carved through the wall to make it a church. So after the temple was built, several generations later, they created a doorway going into this wall to create a church in the throat chakra part of this temple. There was this painting that was put on top of the hieroglyphs, and it's essentially graffiti. They defaced the wall of the Egyptian temple to create, I believe it was a Catholic church. And so you can see here some of the faces that were painted on the wall on top of the hieroglyphs. So Jessalyn and I were just talking about it, and behind me here is that's the representation of the pineal gland inside the third eye chakra room with all the 1111 columns, the mescaline columns. And this doorway here was not here originally. It was put there when they created a church, a Catholic church inside the inner sanctuary. And the way to get to the third eye and the crown chakra were through these two doorways on either side. Really, we just came up with the vision, and what was coming through was that that you have to go through the ears. You have to go through sound, frequency, and vibration. And when you're connected to source and you see the divine and everything, the way to do that is through deep listening.
and then you connect to the rest of the body. So this is what's coming through right now.
So what was interesting is in the original structure of the temple, the doorways on either side, it was the only way for the high priest to access that part of the temple. So it was very off limits to the public, but it also meant that you had to enter through the ears to get to the third eye and crown chakra portion of the temple building. And when we were inside the crown chakra, our friend Jesselyn pointed out to us that the pillars, there was 11 pillars right in the center of the crown chakra chamber, and the pillars themselves were scalloped, and they literally looked like cacti. They looked like plant medicine. They looked like mescaline plant medicine cacti with the scalloped. And we'll end up seeing this also at KARNAK Temple later. But again, it was so interesting to understand, or to have come through the message that you must go through toning, frequency, and vibration from the throat chakra to access the upper two chakras. So something more to explore together. So when we enter the inside of the throat chakra part of the temple, there's this doorway that has a jed pillar on both sides. Now, we spoke about the jed pillar before in part 2. And again, this is something that just jumps out at me now. When I look at it, it's just instantaneous. When you turn your head, you can see the 1111s. So the jed pillar, again, symbolizing the spine of Osiris. It symbolizes inner stability and balance. And when we have that inner stability and balance, then we move up through that 1111 portal and gateway to get to unity at the top. And so here we have a jed pillar doorway. So we have an 1111 doorway here in Luxor Temple. So here we have too the scalloped pillars again, and to us it symbolized this cactus medicine, and it's just hallways and hallways and hallways of these huge pillars. And so I'm like walking down an 1111 hallway, like just I ended up dancing inside these pillars here. I have some footage of that I can share with you later. But again, this is just such a gorgeous, gorgeous temple. And again, playing with that light and dark, and being able to see the textures on the walls and the hieroglyphs in a different way than seeing them in the sunlight. And so the following day, we went to KARNAK Temple. This, again, you can see where the Avenue of the Sphinx leads you straight up to the entrance of KARNAK Temple. And here, though, they are rams. So I don't think I included a close-up of the ram's horns. But here you can see the horn. And ram's horns are that sacred ratio, that spiral ratio, that divine spiral energy. And we see it so much in nature, in flowers and the galaxy and our DNA. All of it spirals. And one of the things that Nassim Haramein says from the Resonance Project, he basically says that we shouldn't be looking for the fundamental particle. We should be looking for the fundamental principle of geometry. And so when we look to sacred geometry and these shapes that are seen throughout nature, these are the shapes and the ways that we can not just explore ourselves and our universe and our wisdom and knowledge, but to actually build with it. Allow nature to guide us in building and creating. And so when we're thinking about creating our new earth and regenerative communities, we use nature as the blueprint. We use nature as the map in how to create buildings, and we will no longer need to live in square structures with right angles. You know, how often do you see right angles in nature? So we're following the spiral,
Ah. Ah. Oh. Oh.
I was very, very moved by KARNAK Temple. It was one of the largest complexes that we visited. Actually, I think it was the largest. And unfortunately, we had the smallest amount of time to explore it. And I want to get into the reasons why. But the point is on our pilgrimage next year, we are planning on spending an entire day at KARNAK. There is so much here to offer. There was so much here to explore. And I really do look forward to learning more and understanding more about KARNAK and hearing more about the stories of KARNAK. Here are some of the doorways at KARNAK. Again, the doorways that seemingly go to nowhere, right? The doorways, the portals to the universe. However you want to see them. They're just crevices into the rock. And yeah, again, this one is a 3. So there's a 3 code here. And when I stepped forward and I stood before it and I was looking at the glyphs, I just felt this really strong energy move through my body. I couldn't quite define it, or it's hard to put words to it. But it was almost like soon. You'll understand soon. You'll get it soon. You'll be able to soon. Move through the doorways and the portals and learn how to. So it was a very beautiful experience standing in front of this here. So as we're walking around and I'm up towards the inner sanctum, or the furthest point in from the entrance of the temple. And I get to this courtyard, and here they are again, those cacti pillars. And again, 11 pillars to me. Everything is through this lens of unification with the ones. 1, 1, 1, 1, 11, 11. Yes, that moment of connecting to source, that moment of introspection, that moment of just taking a breath or making a wish or saying a prayer. You know, it means something different for everyone. And yet when I see it constantly, it's starting to mean so much more to me. And I've been playing and toying with the ideas of 1111 for 20 years now. So it was really magical for me to walk through this space and see these pillars. And I left a seed stone here. I left a seed stone at this particular site at KARNAK and just blessed it up. A piece of this amethyst right here is sitting right there in those pillars. Found this beautiful little crevice to stick it in. Truly majestic.
Stars in the ceiling. All right, we're going to walk out of this space now. It's a hyperspace. See you on the other side.
Even now, I look at that and the joy that I experienced there. I didn't want it to end. And when we were told to go back to the buses, I was quite saddened. And so I'm really looking forward to having more time at KARNAK. There was a moment when we were shown this pool of water and told that it was the same level of water since ancient times, which is very interesting to me because it means that there's still so much there, like underground water, an aquifer underneath this particular site. And so we're going to go a little further into water and blessing the water as we explore a little bit more here. So when we were complete at KARNAK, we had the opportunity to go to this amazing jewelry store, this like silver and gold jeweler, and was able to get a few beautiful talismans. This is one of them here. And and then we went and we boarded our Dubayas. Now these are amazingly beautiful, incredible wooden sailboats that are they're just so luxurious and gorgeous and delightful to be on. And so this next bit here is a series of videos just showing you the boat. Again, please be mindful that these are just really rough videos. I'm just sharing from my heart right now. They will be put into something more cohesive with music and things later. But this just gives you an idea of the Dubayas that we were on.
Wow, this is just incredible. It is so beautiful and elegant. All the wood, it's just amazing. Let's head down to the suite that I have. So blessed, this whole experience to just be truly blessed in so many ways. And the underbelly of the boat now. It's taking me a second to unlock my door. So delightful. Welcome. Oh, look at this. Has a new nice closet with a safe in it. My own bathroom.
I believe we start here at the door again. I wanted to get a better shot of the room and the balcony and everything.
Oh, look how delightful. This is much bigger than a regular houseboat bedroom.
Yes.
There's some space here. You can actually stretch and do some yoga on the floor. My own bathroom. There's a closet as well. And a safe. Ooh, and this is my favorite part right out here. There's only 2 rooms on the whole boat.
that has its own balcony. Ooh. Yes. Oh, isn't this just perfection? Delighted. Delighted. Well, I am really excited about spending some time out here writing and channeling after days and days of vigorous traveling from site to site. I feel like it's time to drop in and really have some spaciousness to just take it all in. I look forward to sharing more with you soon. All right, so our sailboats are getting tugged along here. Just delightful. So pretty. So, so when we are sailing down the Nile, at this point forward, we would pull over and spend some time at a temple somewhere along the river. And so here we are in Edfu. We had gotten off the boats and got to ride in a horse carriage to this particular temple, the Temple of Horus. And so Edfu is interesting because it is it's the area where the ancient Egyptians had their military bases. So it had a very interesting energy for me. But when we approached and arrived at Edfu Temple, it felt very clear. There wasn't any staticky energy that I felt out in the city. And so as we entered this temple, or we come to the front of the temple, it is gorgeous. I mean, there's just like so many pieces of this temple that I really, really enjoyed. And this is one of the like panoramics. So it looks interesting the way that it's kind of morphed. But it was tall and big and flat. But the symbology on the outside of the front of this temple really caught our attention. And Rabbi spent quite a bit of time explaining the front of the temple. And one of the things that I really wanted to point out to you is a scene with Horus on the front of the temple here. So on the left side, here you can see the multi-dimensionality of us, the multi-dimensional beings that we are, and how our energy and frequency can be felt from outside of our physical body as well, and that we can experience each other on an energetic level, and how when we're in coherence and resonation, that energy expands even further out. So if we're emanating the energy of love, that energy will ripple out from us. If we're experiencing the energy of abundance or prosperity, it ripples out from us. And also the capability of being able to be in multiple dimensions at once, or multiple timelines at once. And so this drew my attention quite a lot. Horus is the Falcon King, and is really about learning how to take a bird's eye view and be able to see the bigger picture, to see with our spiritual eye rather than just our physical eyes. And so one of the things that Robbie would say to us, he'd say, look with your spiritual eye, look with your eye of Horus. And so here's one of the walls as you enter the temple. I believe it was on both sides, but this particular photo is on the right side. And you can see the symbol of the Ankh in between the symbols of the Wasat. Now, the Wasat is known as infinity, again, or westing. So, again, the Egyptians did not have the word for death. When somebody was coming to the end of their life, they were westing, where just very much how the sun sets in the west. They believed that the sun, that your life would set like the sun and you go into the underworld or the afterlife, and that your life will start again as the sun rises. And so when I look at this symbology here, I see the first breath of life is Ankh, and then you see the completion of life with the Wasat. And then you move into the next life where you have the first breath of life again. So when I see these hieroglyphs, this particular wall, I see the pattern and the samsara of death and rebirth, death and rebirth. And it doesn't always have to be physical death and rebirth. We go through little deaths, right? We go through these small little moments in our life where there's a shift, or a new chapter is being written, or you close the book and a whole nother one is being written. And so honoring those moments in our life where things might not look so good, or we're kind of down and out, or the world just seems like it's in upheaval, that we're going to get through this, that we will rebirth ourselves, we will rebirth the world, we will rebirth our communities and our families. And I really believe that. So this pattern, this repeating pattern, is a reminder of there's always rebirth on the other side. As we enter Horus's temple in Edfu, you look up. At the top of the columns is the representation of different plants, some of them entheogenic, and there are 14 different representations of flowers, an indication of the use of aromatherapy and plant medicines. And so this particular temple really had a lot to do with aromatherapy, the origins of perfumery, the use of plants and their essence, and creating essential oils. There was literally an entire wall of depictions of how to extract the essence of the plants and use the oils. Here in the inner sanctum, this was also another place that I felt called to leave a seed stone. It was just potent energy here. That's all I can say about that one. Potent energy in the inner sanctum of Horus. So here we see some of the depictions of the plants and bringing the ingredients and what you need to create the process of extracting the essence of the plants. And then the glyph at the bottom, you can see that she's carrying a tray with the oils, with the perfumes in these chalices and these perfume bottles. So a lot of, not a lot of, where we get the ideas of combining certain essences to create the smell and the blending of oils to create perfumes came from the instructions from these particular hieroglyphs. Ah, yes. So this one in particular caught my eye because this symbol means Ka, means spirit. It is. It's our energy. It's our spirit. It's what moves us. It's the energy of our life. It's like the spark within us. It's the spirit that moves this physical body. And so here we have a woman with a tray giving the gift of spirit. And she, again, is removed. You can see how she's been chipped away, and you can no longer see this feminine embodiment offering the gift of spirit. And so when you think about the Holy Trinity and you think about Father, Son, Holy Spirit, it's the women that are offering the Holy Spirit, the gift of spirit. They are the mothers that bring spirit through into human body and birth a child that has spirit within. And so to remove the idea that it is the mothers, it is the feminine that brings the gift of spirit to life. It just hurts me to see this. And yet it reminds me that the mother, the feminine energy is what is the gift of spirit, of life. And so embracing that femininity, honoring the mother and the gifts that she brings. Here again, we see another feminine aspect bringing the gift of the doorway or the portal, the double portal, the double doorway. And of course, I see 2 11s, the pillars that create the doorways. So I don't think I need to say any more about this one. Sekhmet. Yes, we love Sekhmet. Half cat, half woman. Honoring you, Sekhmet, in this moment in time, in this space, and that lioness energy, that lyran energy that we were speaking of already. And it's interesting as I'm seeing this, because it was in a really dark part of the temple, so getting a really clear image of it was difficult. But you can see the light at the top just starting to shine down upon her, and that was natural light, and below is the man-made light that was on the ground. And so to see that juxtaposition of the light and the dark, the man-made light and the light coming from outside, coming from nature, coming from the heavens. And so Sekhmet is I'm learning more about her. I look forward to learning more about her. I want to know more about her because I resonate with her. There's something in her spirit and what she offers that just delights me. So let's take a moment here. Drink some water. Let's just say it is time to bring out our inner lioness, our Lyran energy, story family. If you're feeling that energy and that call. Yes. So here we have the holding of the 1111 frequency. You can see my hand holding it. You can see Cynthia's hand holding it. And just that inner stability of the Jed pillar. And here it felt like we were holding the, not just the Jed pillar, but as we discussed last week, the end of a lightsaber, right? That end, the tool of the Jedi, and being able to harness and master energy and energy transfer, energy frequency, the movement of energy. And so holding the 1111 frequency of unity, holding the 1111 frequency of love and unity and peace and harmonics and coherence. So my family, 1111ers out there, it is time to hold the 1111 frequency more together. It is time to embrace it, to bring it forward, and to share it more with our human family. And so it is. It's one of the missions of 1111 Unify. So here we have there's this large stone that was outside of the temple that had the wings on it. And it just reminded me of our aviary family, our feathered friends, our feathered family. I know a lot of us resonate with birds and flying and being able and being capable of flying, being able to do that, being able to drop into our dream state, being able to move into lucid dream. And one of the first things we want to do when we discovered that we're lucid dreaming is, okay, let's fly. Let's fly. I want to take off and fly and get that bird's eye view, that Horus view looking through our spiritual eye. So took a moment here and just took a picture of the wing and said, let's fly together, family. Let's fly together. That was just a moment on the River Nile. It was a bit windy. You can hear this beautiful Egyptian music playing in the background and just blessing up the energy, blessing up the Nile, blessing the water of the Nile, blessing the water of the planet, blessing the water within ourselves, within our cells. Blessing the water that we drink, bringing clean drinking water to everyone on the planet. This is something that I hold so dear in my heart in this moment in time. I'm wanting to connect 1111 Unify with Charity Water and other organizations that are on a mission to bringing clean drinking water to all. Because water is life, and water is what we need to survive and to thrive. Not only to drink, but to grow our food, to care for our animals. It is essential. Water is life and life is water. It is essential to our survival, to our thrival. And so I just want to take this moment right now and bless the waters. So I wanted to read something. As we're creating these, so much still comes through. And yet I wanted to share something that I wrote while I was there and on the boat and on that River Nile, watching the sunset, listening to the music in the background. galactic portal, unification codex, the divine matrix, the unified field, the desire to remember and connect with the Omni One. Isis, embrace us with your wings as we are guided to and through the doorway, through the portal, the gateway, through the eye of the needle. Through the senses, we experience this 3D matrix, entering the portal to the divine, the holographic universe of no time, no place, no thing. The center place, the one light within us all, connection through perception, offering all of our lessons that return us to home. As I place my seed stone within this magical portal, may its essence come through and the transmissions be received. Blessed be by the power of 3, so shall it be. Back on the boat now, reflection time with the divine, seeing through the lens of the all, seeing the eye of the Omni One, the bird's eye view of Horus, the spiritual eye that guides our soul's journey through the samsara of death and rebirth, the ebb and flow, the giving and the receiving, the reciprocity of the divine matrix, constant flowing of energy, the in and out, the yin and yang, the experience of oneself as an individual and yet part of the collective whole all at once. The magic of infinite possibilities, leading our hearts to our life purpose, to hear the call, to follow the guidance, to be led by our intuition, that inner knowing from that centered place, the inner stabilization, the raising up of the Jed pillar. This work is for all of us. Begin within. To make a change in the world, we must start with ourselves. In our heart, unconditional love for oneself is the key, the starting point, the goal, the path. From here, inner peace is the next key, the starting point, the goal, the path. The Alpha and Omega, no beginning and no end. The Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. The interlocking polarities merging into the one, the all-seeing eye of the Omni One. The cosmology of the divine matrix and the unified field begins in this interlocking Vesica Pisces, and then fractals out to infinity, creating the flower of life and beyond. The eternal expansion and contraction from the microcosms to the macrocosms, the ever-blooming and unfolding of the 1,000-petaled lotus flower. The beauty of this unfolding comes in the witnessing of its growth, its expansion, its expression, its individual rainbow fractal expression of the one diamond light, the whole coming through at one moment in the space and time continuum, an expression of the infinite collapsed and condensed down into a singularity to be expressed in 3D. This physical mind, body, spirit complex can be seen, heard, felt, experienced by other 3D sentient beings. Yet the true experience of another's light is through the heart, through the knowing, through the extrasensory experience of the embodiment of our true soul essence. Namaste. The divine in me acknowledges the divine in you. The light in me sees the light in you. I see you. I know you. I feel your heart. I understand your intentions. I see you with my spiritual eyes. I love you. I love you. I love you. And when I write, I do these like little drawings as well. You can kind of see here. I'm talking about little Aurora Borealis there, and Horus's eye. Yeah, so Family, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share more with you. I look forward to sharing more in part 4 of Messages from Egypt. And by next week, we will have the website up and live and ready for you to apply. We're going to make sure that everybody shares the information that we desire to make sure that we're all a right fit together to go on this trip. And so we will have a page available for you to start filling out an application and making a deposit to join us for our sacred pilgrimage and joint research expedition for 1111 Mystics. So again, we will be traveling to Egypt next year, October 26th to November 14th, 2022. And you'll be able to get more information from us. Just please join our email list, and we'll be sending out that invitation along with the application and a way to make a deposit for the trip. At the end of part 4, I'll explain a bit more about how you can join us and explore these sacred sites together, to be able to really drop in together and witness them and experience them as a group, and we can learn from one another. I am inviting in that sacred circle of peers, that we can all learn from one another, that we can experience this ancient wisdom and knowledge coming through and apply it to our future Earth vision together, and co-creating a place where all of us can thrive for 7 generations to come. Thank you so much, everyone. Anistara Ma Ka here, mother of 1111 Unify. I look forward to having the opportunity to share more with you next week. Blessed be. Have a beautiful day.